Hey guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. I'm your host, Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. Guys, they say never meet your heroes. That's bullshit. Chris has been one of my heroes and my mentors for the last 3 years. Without him, this show would not even be on the air. You've seen him on CNN, you've seen him on Huffington Post, you've seen him all over the world. For me, he's the king of social media. And my dear friend, Chris, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you?
There you go. Hey, thanks, Richard. It's wonderful to be on your show. Man, what an intro. I love that intro.
Thank you. So, like I said, I see you everywhere. And you said you were out in Vegas recently doing show after show after show. You're in like the top 1% of all podcasts in the world, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, we try to. We just broke 1,200 episodes. And
Wow.
yeah, we did 308 episodes last year.
Wow, that's incredible. So, give us a quick down and dirty about who you are, where you come from, and how you got involved in this crazy world of podcasting.
Who am I? What an existential question. What does it all mean? I don't know, man. I'm still solving that riddle. No, I was a kid who was born and raised in SoCal and started my first business when I was 18 and became a entrepreneur, got their entrepreneur bug at 18 and started companies after that and just been building businesses and doing stuff all my life. I put up my book last year on some of my adventures, my memoir sort of thing, a little bit, and some lessons for people in business called Beacons of Leadership. And that's a book that people can go read, especially if they're aspiring entrepreneurs or current entrepreneurs, or if they just want to succeed in business. Some of the advice that I have.
Okay, so now, because like I was telling you earlier, most of our listeners are veteranpreneurs or veteran entrepreneurs. Because once we get out of the military, we realize working for somebody else just doesn't work, because we're willing to work as many hours as we need to get the job done, instead of just hanging out by the water cooler for a half hour and taking a lunch and then going home with the work not done. So now,
military people are 24/7, man. When you work for the military, you're on call and duty all the time.
So now, tell us a little bit about your first foray into entrepreneurship. What was it, and what kind of work did you get involved with?
Well, it was kind of an accidental thing. I mean, back then, entrepreneurism wasn't a thing. People weren't going around going, "I'm the CEO of my own business." It was kind of the forefront of some of that. And so I had, as a child, been working with my father on summers and, whenever mom wanted to get us out of the house, and she would send us off with our dad. And my dad had a stucco business for cement construction, subcontracting, working with stucco and stuccoing foundations, things like that. So I'd worked with him as a child over those years, and I learned, how he did his work, and we'd help him do his work. Hated doing it because you're out in the sun and the whatever, but it was his. We just go help dad. So over the years, I knew how to do all the aspects of his business, except for selling people. And I was graduating from high school, and I was working for McDonald's, minimum wage, and flipping burgers. And one of the bosses here in Utah, where it's highly religious, took a shine to me because I would always wear these rock concert T-shirts, Ozzy Osbourne, Judas Priest, Van Halen, and he believed that they were satanic bands, of course, which is big in the religious community up here, and that I was being of the devil. So he decided that the long hair I had, because I was a heavy metal rocker, needed to be cut in order to keep my job at McDonald's. So he literally put the ultimatum to me. That's kind of when I started feeling through my entrepreneurial thinking. So I asked the ladies at the who had long hair at McDonald's, how do you guys work here if I have to cut my hair? And they go, "Oh, we have these little buns that roll up the hair into our hat, so no one knows the long hair is there." So I did that, and for about a month I had him fooled. he thought he'd won his little bully war to force me to cut my hair to keep my job. And then one day he caught me taking it out after about a month and a half. And when he did, he was pissed because he'd realized I'd gotten the best of him on that one. And he fired me. And so I went home. My dad said, what are you going to do now? You can't stay at my house. You're 18, man. And I go, I don't know. I just got fired from McDonald's. And he goes, why don't you just go start my old company back up? The one with stucco. You know how to do the work. All the tools are in the shed. You just go out and sell it. So I was like, well, I guess so, sure. So I went and did it, and basically got my own business going, and got my own sales going. Learned how to sell and go out and sell people, and that was my very first business. So once you get that drug, it's like awesome.
So when did you first get involved in the digital space?
And digital didn't come until I was always into technology and, having the latest phones. Early on in our companies, we had those big brick phones,
Yeah.
and we had those things going on. And but I always bought the latest cell phones, the coolest cell phones. I was enthralled with the technology, and we could afford it with our companies. But it wasn't until the market crash 2008. We lost our mortgage company, our courier company, and all of our stuff. And Twitter had just been becoming really popular. And so I was like, holy crap. And I looked at Twitter and said, how can we make this work? And so I started figuring out how to make it work and how to market with it with a lot of other people about the same time, since it was such a new technology. That's really when I entered the digital space.
Now, Twitter, like I said, when it first started out, there was like nobody on it, but then it's really blown up to be its own thing. And my friend Dennis, of course, we all know, he loves Twitter. He's a big Twitter guy, and I finally got verified on Twitter. I actually like Twitter, but I never knew how to use it. And I think a lot of people are not using it the proper way. Your thoughts?
I think definitely so. I mean, it's Twitter's always been a car crash of clowns that crashed into success, in spite of the incompetency of their leaders and runners and people who manage it for 13 plus years now, or longer than that, I think. But it's just been a clown car, just a shit show. They've missed so many grand opportunities that they could have led on private messaging, DMing, so many different things they mucked up. And part of it was because they just had really poor management from the very start. And they didn't even understand their product. Most of what Twitter is built of, the community told Twitter they wanted. It's not like somebody had a grand scale idea. But I don't find Twitter as a huge sort of marketing advertisement platform. To me, LinkedIn is the great place to be. You can be on all those places if you want. I know Dennis is brilliant at marketing, and he has this dollar per day sort of one of his strategies. But to me, Facebook and LinkedIn are really where it's at. And of course, TikTok now, it just seems to be crazy. YouTube as well.
Now, I'm a big LinkedIn guy, and I think that's where we connected.
Mm-hmm.
I love LinkedIn. That's where I get 90% of my referrals, and my guests are on LinkedIn. And I only got it because Gary Vaynerchuk, one of my friends, said, listen, bro, if you're not on TikTok and LinkedIn in 2022 and 23, you're going to be lost in the dust.
Yeah.
So talk to us about, the positives of LinkedIn and why a lot of people are not business owners are not on it, but they really should be.
A lot of people just think it's for just like, if you need a job, that's where you go look for a job. And if you're a recruiter, that's where you go look to recruit. There's a lot of business going on over there. Even back in the early Twitter days, we used to say Twitter is the bar. So if you're a guy, you go to the bar, Twitter's the bar. LinkedIn is the office, and Facebook is your home. And so that's kind of how you want to think about those three things. And so, LinkedIn for me has just always been about business, and the people on there tend to act professional. They tend to mind their manners, P's and Q's. You're not seeing the crazy stuff you see even on Facebook. And it seems to be a great place to network, connect with people, and find people that really want to be successful. You find a whole lot of other, stuff over there. Like any network, it has its own spam. But if you curate really well, you can do pretty good with it.
All right, so let's break it down because I'm a big break it down Barney style kind of guy. I love how you say Facebook is your home. Can you break that down a little bit for the simple people like me?
Well, it's Facebook is where you kind of make posts about you make it home. Like, here's my kids, here's my dog, here's me and the wife barbecuing. It's all the pictures the family wants to see. The grandparents are tuned in. The grandparents are tuned in. The kids are on there. It's all the relatives are engaging with each other or not, and that's kind of how that works. And so it's a laid back environment, but it's not the crazy drunken bar that you have at Twitter where things are being flung back and forth. Although I don't know, I've seen it on Facebook too. So that used to be our analogy.
So then, how do you market? Because I know on each platform there's a different way to market. So how do you market and not seem spammy on Facebook?
On Facebook, you buy ads from Facebook ads. I mean, I don't really believe in marketing so much on my Facebook feed. I mean, I might say, hey, the podcast is this on, or hey, here's some things going on with me. But for the most part, I don't use my Facebook personal page as marketing. There's the Facebook pages that can do marketing, or buying ads to those that do marketing. But yeah, I'm not one of those people that on my Facebook personal feed, I'm like trying to always sell shit.
So you're not that annoying person that just always constant business, business, business. It's where
Yeah,
people
I
just
those
start.
those people. It's a different relationship you have to have on Facebook, in my opinion. And those people who are constantly posting business or how to make money stuff, you wonder how broke they are. Because, like, this is supposed to be your close family and relatives and stuff. Why are you hustling over here? But whatever. I mean, to each their own.
All right, so now we're going to go to the bar because I used to be a bar guy, but now I'm sober, so I don't do that anymore. But so if Twitter's the bar, how do you become the most popular guy at the bar?
I don't know. Twitter is like become such a. It used to be there were ways to game the system over there. They closed most of them off. I mean, you almost have to be a super toxic person. There's networking where you can network with other people, but you kind of have to pick your lane of topic that you want to talk about, and it's usually one of the most loudest and obnoxious places that you have to be to stick out. There's just so much freaking noise and so much stuff of the day. It seems like a really great place for news journalists and politics. I don't find much else of interest of anything else. I mean, I don't follow celebrities. I don't really care what Kim Kardashian's doing this week. I don't
So
really
I'm
care.
guessing you're not a big IG guy then.
Not a big IG guy either. IG has really turned into a dating app.
Yeah.
And if you really want to understand what that is, all these apps are really turning into dating apps. So they're all about attention and validation seeking. Some of it's not even real dating. They just want attention and validation. Look at me, my clothes are off. Hey, give me attentions because I'm insecure. I mean, it's just an endless reel of insecurity. We live in a world where no one's getting married anymore. That's very clear. And so instead of having husbands of, where you can go, hey, does my butt look fat in this? Give me some attention, validation, whatever. They don't have that. So they've gotten addicted to getting on Instagram and other places and letting it all hang out for attention and validation. So welcome to the new world. But yeah,
So
to me, IG is just a dating app. We tried to get traction even with the show on there. It's just so hard. It's just so hard.
same thing with TikTok. You having a problem with that too?
TikTok, we're trying to get the screen formatted. We put up some Dave Navarro videos. We tried to kind of make the format work. I've got to apply myself to it, but they have to get the video size right when you upload it. Otherwise, it doesn't fit well on the screen. But TikTok's evidently going well for a lot of advertisers. It's going huge for advertisers and other people. It's just when you run intellectual, serious format like we do, it doesn't fit on there very well because people want to see, they want to see. It's almost like a mini TikTok. It's almost like the bar again. They want to see crazy stuff.
So for me, I'm a 53-year-old guy. I'm not going to be shaking my ass anytime. So
There's
I
still
don't have
time.
to worry about that stupid
Still
stuff.
time.
No, I've been there, done that, brother.
Chippendales is taking requests. I think last time I was in Vegas.
I'll have to pay people to keep my clothes on.
I think there's a OnlyFans for that.
So now, what about YouTube? Because I'm a big guy for making long form content while also making utilizing YouTube Shorts. What is your thoughts on YouTube?
I mean, YouTube's good. It's good for advertising on there. If you're targeting the market on there, is, largely still 10 to 15-year-olds. So if you have a product or something that aspires to them, I've seen some people run ads and stuff and do things where it's, they're selling coaching services or some serious business stuff. But yeah, there's things there that are pretty interesting.
So where do you see, for a new business owner just getting started, a guy gets out of the military, just wants to start a business, and he starts a business but doesn't know anything about social media? Where do they start? What are some advice you can give to newbies?
And he's never started a business before?
Yep, just brand new out the gate.
Well, first you want to understand and get to know, what you're doing with small business and how you're building it. So I'd say, make sure you know everything you know about starting a business and running it first. Then with marketing and social media, you just have to build it. You have to start making connections and reply to people. You can hire some social media experts, if you will, I suppose. People that know how to market. You need to vet them well and make sure that they know what they're doing. Because there's a lot of people who claim they know what they're doing, but they don't. But yeah, you just go on and start building relationships. I built groups on LinkedIn years and years and years ago called the Chris Voss Show, and that's now 130,000 people. It's just one of those things where you just got to start building it, and they come. If you build something that's interesting, you have to constantly be posting stuff, putting up content. Like I said, we put out 308 podcasts last year, and everyone I told that to on Facebook just about fell off their chair, and they were like, "Holy crap!" And when you think about it, it is a lot, actually. But you've got to constantly put up content. You've got to constantly be out there. You probably became aware of me because I'm constantly talking. I'm constantly putting up content, and you're like, "Hey, this guy sometimes has some interesting things to say." And people see that. Repetition is the mother of mastery, or something like that. So you got to get in front of people's eyes and ears.
So, it's January 11th, 2023. And what are your thoughts on podcasting? And because you just got back from some events, where do you see the future of podcasting going?
I don't know. I think it'll still just keep going along like radio. It's people seem to love podcasting. I think more and more people will consume it. I think it's hopefully reaching an inflection point where the bad podcasts are dying off and the good podcasts are getting better, like mine. But it's just amazing how everybody and their dog seems to think they can make a podcast and make it sound good. And then like 80% of them are dead by episode 7 because there really wasn't a podcast. But people say to me, they'll be like, "Hey, I got an idea for a podcast." I'm like, "What is it?" And they'll tell me, and they'll be like, "That's an episode. That's not a podcast. That's like an episode. You have an hour conversation there. You don't have 10,000 hours of content potentially for that show."
And isn't it like most podcasts don't go past episode 13?
Yeah, 80% die by episode 7. The other of the 20% left over, the other 80% of that will die by episode 13, 15, 25 if it doesn't have a website specifically. Like if they don't have their own domain, they're just using one of those services that parks your stuff. If they don't have their own .com, they won't make it.
So, I think a lot of people, when they start a podcast, they think it's all going to be unicorns and rainbows.
Yeah.
They're just going to put out an episode. Everybody's going to flock to it. And then the sponsors are just going to show up throwing money at them. And they don't realize that it takes actual work to make a successful podcast, right?
Yeah, I've actually had people say to me, they go, "So when do I start making money with this thing? Right away?" You're like, no, like, you have to build it. You have to build an audience. People just don't pay you to sit and talk to a mic that goes out to an audience of no one and your mom. That's not how it works. And they think like they hear there's money in it and all this stuff, and they don't really understand any of it. And the bar for entry is really low. I mean, people just like, oh, you just talk into your phone and make a podcast. Yeah. And so they just sit and think that having a conversation is as boring as the one you'd have over lunch with someone is an appropriate podcast. But I mean, hey, whatever works.
I mean, but also, like I said, Mr. Gary Vaynerchuk is the one that actually came up with the comeback coach. He actually got me into the podcasting. But there's only one Gary V.
Yeah.
There's only one Chris Voss. And everybody tries to be like somebody else, and they come off like, well, if I say 50 curse words in a minute, then I'm going to get listeners. But that's only going to get you maybe halfway through that episode. And then people are going to start clicking off. Because I think you have to be authentic, but actually provide value for people that are listening.
Most definitely. I mean, providing values and entertainment too. I mean, a lot of people don't realize is, people come on to shows maybe to learn something, but also to be entertained. That's what we're doing. We're looking for entertainment. And, a lot of shows that I see, they're just boring as hell. It's like, hi, how are you? Good. I'm fine. You fine? Oh, that's funny. Yeah. It's just like that. You're just like, this is the worst conversation ever. Like,
yeah, I get it. And sometimes you're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm pulling teeth. I got to pull questions out of you. But one thing I like about you is you're a rock and roll guy. I'm a big rock and roll guy.
Yeah.
I still listen to Ozzy. I still listen to Van Halen. So I haven't grown up yet.
Well, according to the guy who fired me at McDonald's, we're all going to hell. So,
well, it's going to be a big party.
It's going to be a good party. All the bands are there.
So now you've interviewed, like you said, you've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people. From the people that you interviewed, because I've interviewed a lot of top level Navy SEALs, Delta Force, and they all seem to have like a couple things in common. So the most successful people that you've interviewed, now including yourself, what makes those people successful and others not?
They've done a lot of internal work on themselves, and they've really got to know themselves really well, and they've healed traumas. They spend a lot of times being very self-accountable, very self-aware. And that's what I find with most people. They're very deliberate. They're very self-aware. They don't blame others for their problems. They take accountability. And that seems to be the real key. You'll talk to them and they have an understanding about themselves and their topic. You can tell they've spent some quiet times alone with themselves that a lot of people don't want to spend or afraid to spend. And doing that inward looking. And so I think it's one of the things that separates people that are hugely successful the people that don't. There's a lot of people just running on autopilot.
Now, how do you, because I've learned a lot from you as far as how to properly introduce yourself and ask somebody to come on the show and provide value before you even ask anything. So talk to us, because a lot of people, that's the number one question I have when I teach people on my courses. Well, how do I get people to come on my show? So how did Chris Voss get people coming on the show when he first started?
For the most part, I was in the tech business because we were doing with Twitter and stuff. So I just reached out to a lot of my friends who were also in tech business. A lot of them were writing books. A lot of them were talking about tech. A lot of them were also famous as well. So when you're kind of quote unquote famous, you can pull in your friends basically. So that's what I was doing. I just pull in my friends and we talk about podcasts. Back then it was fairly informal back then. And it was kind of more of a radio show, but So I would just, bug my friends. And of course, back then, everyone wants to get a podcast. Oh, Chris got a podcast. Let's go on his. And I've always been kind of funny. I mean, if people want to think I'm funny, great. But I've always been kind of funny. So I'm always working at it. And, and so people always like hanging around me because I'm funny. And, God bless them, because I don't think I am that funny, but we're working on it. We're working on the jokes.
So now, because I've been on LinkedIn, I think now I'm on my 5th year. I think we got something like almost 30,000 connections. I've never once sent anybody anything spam, because I don't think that's the way to build relationships. Where, like, when I asked you to come on the show, I said, Chris, I love what you're doing. I would love to have you come on the show and promote your show and promote your new book. That's the way I kind of lead with value every time. So talk about leading with value, especially on LinkedIn.
Well, LinkedIn, we post the podcast there. You can post 10-minute segments. So we post a 10-minute segment up. There's a newsletter over there that if you can get access to the newsletter, you can post a newsletter, at least once a day. You can send a newsletter to people, and people on LinkedIn subscribe to it. What's great, it goes right to their emails. And so we do a newsletter thing. I think we built it down to about 4,300 or something like that. And yeah, it's just freaking crazy, man. What we built over there. We built a big group from 0 to 130,000, and so you just build it, and it takes time. The company pages we work on now, every month you can add 250 users to it or invite them. So you just talk and you put out content, and that's how you deliver value. If people see you enough and they like your stuff and your content's smart and intelligent, they'll usually like you.
I love it. And like you said, as long as it's intelligent conversation and somebody's learning from somebody. Now, I want to ask you about it, because for you know everybody, and almost everything. So if I have any questions, I'm going to go to you. But I've been learning how to use Chat GPT for the last 3 weeks, and I'm actually learning a lot. I'm using it more as a learning tool than anything else. But I hear a lot of people talking trash about it, and so I want to get your opinion on Chat GPT, and not only that, but AI, as far as content in the next 12 months.
I haven't played with it. My friends have all been playing with it, so I've been letting them play with it. I don't really have much to think about it. I mean, it's where AI is going, artificial intelligence, and becoming more aware. I've been seeing the pictures that people have been making with the new programs for AI, and they're pretty cool looking. The artistry is astounding. But I haven't played with it much. You're probably farther along with it than I am, but it seems cool. I'm cool with it. I don't know. I don't know if there's a danger there. People are freaking out. They're like, it's going to replace podcasts and everything. And I'm like, I don't think so. Yeah, give it some time. But you really can't replace the comedy on my podcast. I mean, maybe you can.
Well, plus that, I mean, I remember when Clubhouse first came out, and they're like, oh, that's going to replace podcasting. And that was up for about 7 days and took a shit. And now nobody's on Clubhouse. So it's not really taking podcasting at all. It's actually helping podcasts, I think, because everybody that was listening on Clubhouse now went back to podcasting.
Yeah. I didn't ever see it taking over podcasting. I saw it as a nice sort of aside. We used to pump the podcast in there, and we used to promote with it and stuff. But yeah, it was pretty interesting.
So now let's talk about the last couple of minutes. Let's talk about your book and what you got going on, and talk about what you've been doing the last couple of weeks and how your weekend went.
Yeah, it's been. I went to CES. Like I said, I'm pretty beaten down from CES, feeling the pain from the road. Yeah, I probably need a nap. And I just we did CES. We interviewed like I think 20 or 30 CEOs that we usually do every year there. We run the gauntlet. We go through the booths, record the booths, and talk about what's going on with their shows. A lot of these guys are entrepreneurs, so they're either new startups or they're used to doing startups, but they're very successful people or on their way, hopefully, to be successful people. It's cool to see their ideas and the money that they put behind it, and you see
Now, for the
people.
people who don't know, what is CS? For the people that don't know,
It's the Consumer Electronics Technology Association's show, so Consumer Electronics Show, and CTA puts it on every year, and they it has like all the latest toys. Anything you want to know that's coming in the future, it's there at that show usually, and so you see things that aren't at the market yet, kind of the cusp of ideas. So we've been doing that. My book's going well, The Beacons of Leadership. You can find it wherever fine books are sold on Amazon. Beacons of Leadership, Inspiring Lessons of Success, Business, and Innovation. Recommend anybody pick it up if you're an entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur. I've got my toolbox in there and some of the different tips and tricks that I used to use. And yeah, I'm just pretty much just trying to catch up from the road and the beatdown of walking all over CES.
no. So okay, let me, being in the military for 23 years, I love leadership. I love talking about leadership. I think that we have a big lack of leadership, not only in business but also in this country. But that's a whole other podcast. So talk about your thoughts on leadership and what is leadership.
Leadership to me, the reason I wrote the title of the book is based on a format I call Beacons of Leadership. As a leader is someone who inspires other people, who motivates other people, who gets things done, who people look to as a leader. You're certainly not a leader if you can't get anybody to follow you. But people who look to you as a leader and your ideas and your concepts and what you want to achieve within the community you're trying to lead. Somebody can be a leader who's a parent. Mothers and fathers are leaders. They're setting the course for their children. They're leading the home and everything else. And that's kind of where that goes. But yeah, we don't have enough leaders. So many people just want to be followers. A few people want to lead, which is fine, because that just makes it better for most of all of us.
But I've learned that in order to be a good leader, you had to be a great follower.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'm the kind of guy that, in order for me to lead, I don't remember who said it, but people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think great leaders care about the people that they're leading, because I feel that if I'm leading somebody and they know that I care about them as a person, they'll run through a brick wall if they have to.
Definitely. They definitely will.
And I just don't believe that, I believe, like when I was in the military, I was taught I can respect your rank, but I don't have to respect the person. So I definitely believe in leadership. I can't wait I want to get an autograph copy of that book, by the way.
I'd love to get you one. Did I get one out to you?
No, I want to get an autograph copy. I'll buy it. Like I said,
wasn't I going to mail it to you?
No, not yet.
I'll mail one out to you. Hit me up after the show so that I have that, and I'll mail one out to you, man, gladly.
All right. So now, like I said, this is a teaching podcast, and the last question I ask for business experts like yourself: what are your top 3 pieces of business advice you would give to a brand new business owner?
Study your work. Study what entrepreneur is. Work hard. What are some 3 that I would think of? But study your business hard. Understand what entrepreneur is, how it works. Get good mentors. I think that would be a big thing. Get good mentors, people who've been successful in business. Don't listen to idiots that have not been successful in business. If Bob comes to you from accounting, or someone who's one of your relatives says, "Oh, I heard there's danger in business," and so don't listen to those guys. Go get mentors who are successful business millionaires. They've built great companies, and use them as your mentors and your sounding boards.
I love it, brother. So how do we find you? Because I know you're everywhere, but what are some of the ways we can find your podcast And how else can we support your mission?
Check out the book at beaconsleadership.com or Beacons Leadership on Amazon. The ChrisVossShow.com is where my podcast is and all those reviews and stuff we do. You can find me on LinkedIn under my name, Chris Voss. Same thing with Facebook. You follow me there. Just search for Chris Voss, the Chris Voss Show. Look for the guy who's not the FBI agent, and you'll find me in all my glory.
Chris, I just want to say, my friend, thank you for being a friend all these years, and thank you for being a mentor to me. Without you, this show would not be possible. And I personally and publicly want to say thank you for all you've done for me.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that you had that impact on you and it's made your life better. Thank you very much, because I don't hear much thanks, and sometimes you wonder about the people you touch in the world. But I'd love to come back and talk about leadership. We can plumb that in some more depths if you'd have me
Definitely.
back.
When the book comes, what we'll do is we'll actually, as soon as the book comes, we'll have a whole other episode just on leadership, because I'm sure a lot of veterans, I've interviewed a bunch of guys that are struggling now because of what the leadership in DC. So I would definitely love to come on and talk about leadership in life and in business.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right, guys. So remember, check out Chris. He's awesome on LinkedIn. His podcast is amazing. I think I've listened to every episode, so make sure you check him out. And guys, remember, vertical momentum, the only way to go is but up, and we will catch you next week. Chris, thank you so much, and I love you and love everything you're doing.
Thanks, Rich. You too, man.
God bless.
There you go.